All right, we are back for episode 96 of Digital Divination. That means we're only 4 episodes away.
I feel like I ought to be bursting in the wall like Kool-Aid Man here. Go, and plus Ron!
Yes, and
or a little Kramer.
Yes, Ron Lundeen sliding in, opening the door to help us out here as we near the very end. Speaking of Kramer and disclaimers, Ron, do you have a disclaimer you have to say?
That segue did something to my chest. I'm not sure what that was. Yes. I need a little drink.
But I am required. While you're drinking, I'll add that I'm an employee of Wizards of the Coast, and my opinions here are my own and not theirs.
This is just the lawyer thing to keep Ron out of trouble while he comes here and says whatever he says. So.
I'm known to do the lawyer thing from time to time.
Is it required for these things now, or I don't even know?
If any time that what you're saying might be construed as something that the company is saying, it's just good. It's just best practice, right?
Yes.
Because the last thing I want to do is be on here and saying, "Oh, this sci-fi fantasy stuff like this particular thing is really great," and people like, "Hey, guess what? Dungeons and Dragons is doing." No. I'm thinking they're great, right?
Yes. Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, it's great to have you here, Ron. It's been a while since we've had you.
True, but I feel like I've been catching up all along. I have happy Thursdays when you guys release Digital Divination, and then I have sad Thursdays when you don't. That's
oh.
Those should be normal Thursdays. You don't seem to have an in between. You're just happy or sad.
Well, the sad ones are when I have to find something else to listen to on my commute that day. That's
right. Yeah.
Well, next Thursday then will be a sad Thursday for you because that's Thanksgiving. It's a week from when this gets released.
Right.
But we'll talk about Thanksgiving anyway. This will be our Thanksgiving episode. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
I brought turkey.
Oh. Wait, what?
No.
I actually love Thanksgiving. It's one of my favorite holidays.
Oh, it I was up. We were up in Canada for Canadian Thanksgiving. It is almost exactly the same as here, just a different date.
Okay. Like the sides to the turkey are the same.
Yeah.
Like cranberry sauce and olives that the little kids put on each finger and stuff like that.
Oh, that's just our family thing that we do that. Does everybody do that?
I did that. My kids do that.
I don't like olives, but my wife and her sisters love them. And when I would go visit them, because we dated when we were younger, that's what they would do. Do it all that. So go figure.
We had, when I was growing up, at my grandparents, then when I was growing up, we had the obligatory 3-part clear glass tray that only appeared at Thanksgiving to have black olives in one quadrant, trident, anyway, green olives in the other, and little gherkin pickles in the third. It was the only time of year we used that tray, and the only time of year we had those little pickles.
Yes, I like the little pickles.
We
still have that tray, and we still put it out at Thanksgiving.
There you go.
Oh, what about you, Jason?
Olives and pickles are two things that I do not like. So you can have them.
All righty.
Oh, that's fun. At your when we had your birthday get together, James Case brought that pickled. What was that? Brought some pickled something. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't remember what it was, but I remember that he brought it.
Everybody thought it was really good. Anyway, so this weekend, I'm not feeling well. My wife decided to pickle a bunch of onions too. She kept asking me if I wanted them. I'm thinking, no, I'm not. I'm having difficulty with anything being sick here now. That's like the last thing I want.
Do you want some of this lukewarm ham?
Just the fatty parts of the lukewarm ham.
Yes.
Delicious.
Oh man! All right.
What about you? Do you guys have big Thanksgiving plans? Are you having people over? Or are you going places? What are you planning?
Neither of those things. Not having anyone over. Not going anywhere. Just gonna have a nice, simple Thanksgiving this year. I'm not preparing too much food. Although my wife says she's like, oh, I want an apple pie. I'm just gonna make those, but I also want a pumpkin pie. So we're probably gonna have 2 pies. But
nice. 2 pies, 2 people. That's the good ratio.
It is a good ratio. Yeah.
We have our local family around here. So my 2 daughters will be over. Mine is actually coming from Canada. She's coming home today. She'll be here like in an hour. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Wow.
And then my wife's sister and her kids will be over as well. And then the last 3 years we've had Scott Keim. And so I think that's a tradition once you've done it 3 years. So
right.
Yeah.
I haven't confirmed with him, but I just assume he's going to show up at this point. So,
well, if we're making traditions, then I have for just before the pandemic, and then once the pandemic eased up, rather than do a big complicated Thanksgiving dinner here at home, we've gone to the buffet at one of the local casinos because they do huge Thanksgiving spreads.
Yeah.
And we started to do that with some friends as well. I think we're doing that again this year with family. We haven't decided yet, but my nephew and his wife are coming over, and that's going to be great. But they're about to move to Hawaii in a couple of weeks, and so this is like the last hurrah with them. But we'll probably go to the casino buffet again, and that then, I guess let's Scott Keim coming over to your place. That becomes our tradition.
Yes. We did that one time with my mother-in-law. She had been raving about it, and it was good. They have like a lot of options and a lot of food. The casino we went to, though, it was down in Shelton area, so it's a little ways. It was a massive line out the door though, to get in. That was.
Oh well, biggest,
yeah. So
I guess like the gherkin pickles, we're not the only ones that think about that.
Yeah. So. When I was growing up, my stepdad was the 12th of 13 kids, and so it would all like Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners were always huge things. We'd all go over to the aunt's house, his sister's house, or his brother's house, and it would just be everybody was there, and it was just like they would clear out their basement and have like 3 long tables full of people because it was all the brothers and their sisters and their kids. So my cousins basically and their kids sometimes, depending on how old they were, because there's this big spread of ages there. And it was always so. I would just want to go and sit in the corner and read a book. And they would be like, "Oh, you read a book?" I'm like, "Yes, just leave me alone. I'll come here for the food. I'll eat. Then I'm gonna go sit outside in the cold and read because there's too many of you, and you're all too loud."
Too many people. Did you divide up by ages, like adults table and kids table? And
no, it was kind of like just sort of family groups. Basically on the tables,
a family kind
of. I was by mom and my mom, my stepdad. And that was basically,
We always did on one end. Adults and kids, like Ron was saying.
Well, we don't. My wife is exceptionally well educated. Her family is also exceptionally well educated, and I used to joke that at Thanksgiving they would seat you at tables by number of degrees you hold, right?
Oh, no,
which would put my wife at a higher table than I'm at. And I've got a JD, right? That's
and the kids have nothing, so they're all together with
right.
Yeah, with the people who didn't get a college degree. I guess that's all. You're all at that table.
That table.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking we could talk about things that we are thankful about with Starfinder or something along those lines. But I will say that when I brought up this topic, Jason had a really interesting idea. What was that?
I just said turkey playable species, which is probably not too different than the Aspraska, but just more turkey-ish. But then Ron said, "I'm on it." So
right.
He probably took about like 5 minutes, probably not even, and wrote this.
Not even 5 minutes.
Not even 5 minutes, because it's Ron and he can just dash it out easy.
No, it's even faster than that. It's frankly even lazier than that, because frankly, if you've got some sort of turkey people playable species that you want to have, or they're sort of like bipedal turkey creatures, the most important thing you can have, the most important feature that they can have is that they're delicious. The dromatas the Dromadas, the camel people, have their savory special ability, where if it's hit by something with a bite, its AC goes down for future bite attacks against that creature because it's so delicious.
Why does Starfinder do that twice? The Dramata and the Goran are both delicious.
They're both delicious, and I don't know. Trying to
if I had a nickel for every time that happened, I'd have 10 cents, which is still weird.
Still a suspiciously high amount.
Still.
So anyway, so I thought, well, if I'm going to make up a turkey people playable species, I want to give it the savory feature that Dromadas have. Mm-hmm. But then I also looked, and they've got 2 other features. One that lets them make like a warning bellow, and it gives everybody else initiatives, like which I would just call gobble, right?
Yeah.
Just rename that. So they've got delicious, they've got gobble, and then they've got a an ability to run real fast once, and then like adjust their speed. And anybody that's tried to run after poultry, right, like a chicken or turkey, they can do that. They can just suddenly just turn on the sprint.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do for my turkey people playable species, which because we have to come up with some sort of name for them, let's call them Turkindos, and they come from the Turkino planet, and they speak a language. Everything has to be subtly different, right? The language they speak has to be subtly different than the planet name, which has to be subtly different than the species.
I'm sure.
Anyway,
right, exactly.
But they have
Meleagris. I would do that. I would use the scientific name for turkey, and then just sort of like maybe switch some letters around.
So what is that? Pavo? Is that? That's coming off my head. I haven't looked that up, but
no, I just looked it up. It's Meleagris, and then I maybe change the G and the L around or something like that.
That's probably true. That's good. That's a great answer. And they've got the delicious ability, which is stolen from the Dromada's savory, and they've got the gobble gobble ability, which is stolen from the Dromada's alert the herd, and they can keep it named Bolt that the Dromadas have. And there, I have now made the turkey people. I'd
call it Trot, Ron.
Trot is probably turkey trot is turkey absolutely the better way to do that.
Nice.
Okay.
What are their ability scores going to be then?
Well, now I just want to keep stealing from the Dromadas, right? So.
We got change it a little bit so it's not exactly the same as a Dramata. Although the Dramata are very much a prey species.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to have some sort of, I don't know, maybe a wisdom penalty, because turkeys will drown in the rain, I hear, by just looking up at the sky until they drown. Yeah. So maybe a constitution bonus and a wisdom penalty, maybe?
There you go.
I like it.
All right, there we go.
We did it.
Copyright Digital Divination 2023.
Very good. Well done. That's, this actually brings up an interesting thing. And one of the things that I am thankful for about Starfinder is all the playable species and the ability to create new ones on the fly, or turkeys don't fly, but maybe on the long.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Oh, that's Jason. Do you know where that comes from?
Yeah, WKRP in Cincinnati.
Okay,
I'm no Philistine.
I don't know how old you are. I know Ron and I are old.
I'm about as old as the two of you, maybe a little younger, but not that much.
Yeah, okay. But most of our listeners probably have
no idea. No idea.
Now they get a
anyway, I interrupted.
Yeah. All right. There's Big Meat coming back.
He's back. Yep. He's back. I can see him.
All right. Okay. Well, good. Anyway, so that's what
I interrupted you. You're saying you're thankful about the number of species.
The playable species that we have, and and it's not. Initially, with the initial group of species that you had, it's like, well, if I'm going to be a certain class, or I want to have certain ability buffs or attributes going to match up and things like that. Mm-hmm. Now it's like you can have all kinds of different flavors, and there's even I was going to say, even with your turkey type, you could have a subtype that is free range versus the non-free range.
Boy.
So they could, maybe one's got, even, a little quicker and stuff. Other one might be really slow and more delicious. I don't know.
When the second edition playtest comes out, we'll bash together an Ancestry based on this, and I'll make one of us has to play it.
Yes,
just for a little bit.
That'll be my second bird-based people Ancestry. And again, if I had a nickel for each time, I'd have 2 nickels. But it's weird that it's happened twice. I did a third-party vulture people.
Okay,
so
that's fun.
Definitely different than the turkey, but there is a turkey vulture.
Yes,
so I don't know.
True, but they're not as.
That's the what do they
mixed
call
ancestries?
They're calling the hybrids now, or if you got features of 2 different ancestries.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let
me tell you, one of the things I'm really thankful for Starfinder is this. I recently went out to Gamehole Con in Madison, Wisconsin. It's fantastic. I used to go to that convention a lot, every year when I lived in the Chicagoland area, and it was a really neat place to reconnect with, a lot of people that I know from the industry and so on. So I got the opportunity, and then just friends from the area, right? People from organized play, but also friends that I have. And so I got a chance to go, and it was reconnecting with all these people was really wonderful. And one of them, my friend Joshua and his son, were out playing, and because they were jumping into just a Starfinder organized play, I'm like, I've got a Starfinder organized play. I can just jump in at the same table as you because of the sort of the free ability to just play a pre-gen or pull out an old character from several years ago and just sit at a table and have fun. With these old friends that I haven't been able to game with in years and years. And the Starfinder Society gave me that. And so I'm really thankful for that experience.
Nice.
Cool. Very nice.
When you went back, did you feel any different now that you actually work at this really big company?
I mean, I was there to work. I mean, I was sat on panels and answered questions and stuff like that for work.
So
sitting around the table, no, it was just plugged right back into the old gaming, and even to such a degree that when I'm playing, I'm kind of editing as I go. Like whenever a GM's reading box text, I'm like, might tighten that up a little bit. Let me take a quick development pass over that box text, buddy, and then I'll get that back to you.
No, I guess I was just thinking coming back home, closer to, the roots of D&D stuff, and going back now that you work for Wizards. Did that feel any different than when you worked for Paizo?
I mean, that's all the same roots, right? I mean, it's all coming from some of the same places in the hobby, and local cons like that have a real tendency to just celebrate all of it. And even some of the strange. I played a lot of games that I've wanted to try but didn't get a chance to. Dragonbane and Tales from the Loop. I played a Call of Cthulhu. I mean, just things that are kind of these one-shot games that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to convince my local group to try. And all of it kind of, it's the same feeling of like coming back to the same sort of hobby we all love. Really nice.
Yeah.
It was really, really good.
Jason, you were saying something?
No, I was just commenting on Ron's inability to let other people do things. No, just let people. No. I get the same way. I think about like design or development. Just be like, well, that could have been a little better this way or that. No, I mean, like, like just in general, I'll do Starfinder too, but just in general about gaming, I'm also very thankful about the incredible diversity of stuff that's out there, and then you can just play and pick up a lot of things. And I have a group that does that, and we play it, kind of a new thing almost every 2 months, maybe, real short campaigns, and it's a lot of fun, and it gets the mind going and the creative juices flowing sometimes. To the point where, again, I'm like, well, let me just whip something up for this. And we're not even taking a game that exists, making a game up just for this group, and then occasionally doing something else with it, but mainly just sort of like, I'll just throw this together and it'll be fun. It's real quick, like Power by the Apocalypse hack or a what's the other one? Fate hack or something like that, right? something really easy to put together. For Starfinder, I would say though I'm thankful, currently thankful about a lot of stuff. I mean, I could say like if I want to talk about like where I am like professionally is very much due to Starfinder, and I mean, I've said I got into Paizo to edit Pathfinder, but I didn't become a developer until Starfinder started coming around. So, and I got the chance to work on all that stuff, and I'm so incredibly grateful to be able to have like shaped a lot of it at the beginning and worked on a lot of that stuff at the very beginning, and constantly for a while. But I'm also very thankful that Starfinder Enhanced came out and sort of continuing that stuff that I very much barely worked. I contributed a little bit to, but like going in there and the ability for the group and it's changed over the years, obviously, as it always does, but the ability to go in and say like, hey, let's take a look at some of the stuff that didn't work as well as we thought it would at the beginning, and taking another crack at it in a lot of ways, or tweaking it, and the ability to just sort of like not have to be so set in stone on certain things and just sort of stick with it because that's the way it's been, right? And then them going forward on second edition. So I'm just generally thankful, I guess.
Let me ask you about that a little bit, Jason.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, and I wanted you to speak for yourself and not for the team, or but
yeah.
What are some of the things that you think maybe given another crack at them is needed, right? What are some of those things where you're like, I kind of want to tweak this, kind of want to tweak that?
Well, yeah, I mean, like the we're talking about setting aside the change to sort of the 3-action economy and the sort of the math of Pathfinder Second Edition and Starfinder. Just sort of saying talk about First Edition Starfinder. Like obviously, over the years, I've always felt like, well, that's Starship combat stuff, which is something I did work on at the very beginning, really, but could use another crack, and I got a kind of another crack at it with the narrative Starship combat for Starfinder Enhanced, which is pretty cool. And just sort of like the I don't know, there's not much else. Just sort of like narratively, maybe sort of a lot of talk about what Starfinder. It casts a wide net, and it's good that it casts a really wide net, but sometimes it can be a little too wide for the business end of things, I guess, right? Just be like, oh, it's kind of too much to everybody, and what do you do when everyone's got their own idea of what Starfinder is on all, even inside the company? What does that mean? So not nothing huge, but like, I'm sure there's things, if I had more time to think about it, some specifics of things. There's one, if I'm going to get like like really granularly specific, one thing that I wish I kind of sort of did at the end of Attack of the Swarm was have the comet, the Forever Reliquary, be a place that's outside of time. So when you get there, you're getting there the same time as everyone else is getting there, and you're meeting all these sort of like Hylaxian figures from history or whatever, the early Sheeran. So you get to like interact with them then at the same time as they're sort of discovering the comet. Just something like that. That was just sort of like, oh, that would have been really cool. I think it was. I thought about it, and like the restaurant at the end of the universe. From Hitchhikers is kind of like the same day essentially, right? So if it was something like that, I think that might have been kind of not more interesting, but just differently interesting. That came to be later. That I was like, that would have been cool, but nothing. I liked it. Obviously, it came out great the way it is, so I'm happy with it. But like, just always other, backseat thinking, like hindsight thinking. As always, you can think, I could have probably done that better.
The same. I thought just about any project that I do tells me how I could have done a previous project better. That's sure. Just part of growing in the industry, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What you mentioned, Ron, about going back to Gamehole Con actually reminds me of something else. And I'll say that, and again, it's something I'm really thankful of. I got back into role-playing games because of Starfinder, primarily.
Oh.
I had not been playing for a bunch of years, and I went to a free RPG day that Rob Helm actually was running a table at Gadgets and Gizmos. It's where Vernon Wells is now. There was a game store that was there as well, and I met Scott there. Scott Kime, he was at the table. We went through the game. Now I don't remember the game that he ran. It was a RuneQuest game, so we played RuneQuest with him. So Rob's really big time in the RuneQuest. And then from there, Scott said, "Hey, I would work for this company Paizo, and you guys want to come over and play?" And we played the Pathfinder beginner box with him. And then Starfinder came out that same month, and we got the core rulebook and started playing Dead Suns. That's really how I got back into it, and now that's going on. It'll be 6 years now, I think.
Yeah,
in December.
Yeah.
Next month I'll have been out here 6 years since I did my big midlife career switch. Although it's funny you go back to the beginning there, because when I was out when I was out in Madison, I took some extra time to go down to Chicago and hang out with some of my gaming friends that I haven't seen in 6 years from when I left. And some of those same people who got together so that we could actually play a game together, throw dice just like the old days. A lot of those were the same people that I was one of the initial kind of earlier playtesters for Starfinder for. And I remember calling them up and being like, "Hey, I got early access to this game. Let's take it through its paces and see what we can do." And we're all kind of poring over the unformatted printouts of the new rules, trying to figure out how to make characters and do the attacks and stuff, and how it's kind of the wonder that we had for every little thing that people now take for granted, I think, in Starfinder, or even in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, right? Oh, the guns have levels? That's really... Everything's got levels. Wait a minute, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So were you doing that to play test the scenario you wrote, Into the Unknown, or?
Both. We did the playtest first, and then we did playtested the Into the Unknown scenario that I did. So
very cool.
And I remember I don't remember who it was, got so angry that Keskadai the Mystic couldn't contribute in Starship Combat at all.
Everybody
this just is such... And when I raised that to the Starfighter team, they were like, "We know." Yep.
And still, we didn't fix it.
We got magic officers now.
Yes. Well, yes, that took some time, but that
right.
but not right away. It should have been more fully integrated and all that stuff. I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, Jason, what about you? Any other thoughts? Things you're thankful for about Starfinder?
No, I don't know. It makes me.
Well, we can jump to the next thing if you want. That's okay. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So we did ask in our last video if any of our listeners had any topics, things that they want to talk about. And one of our listeners who I've corresponded with actually off and on for a variety of things, it's Russell Sinclair. And the reason why I've corresponded with him is he's created this API for Roll20 for Starfinder called Guidance, which basically allows you to cut and paste out of archives of Nethys or from a scenario or AP, cut and paste a stat block into Roll20. It automatically formats a Roll20 NPC, character, or starship for you. It is awesome.
Nice.
It has made my life so much easier. And he's recently created the same thing for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I don't know what it's called, but I know he did that.
But it's guidance for Starfinder, you said?
It's called Guidance. If you want to, you have to add it to your Roll28. There's APIs, add it, scroll down, you get to Guidance. You just bring that in. And when you click on it, it's installed. You can kind of click on it. It tells you the commands you have to type to enter it in. So I can show you offline if you really need, but it makes it for me, if you're running, a bunch of stuff on Roll20, which we did during the pandemic, that was a huge lifesaver. So anyway, so he had a couple of topics, and we all have this list here. And I'll start at the first one because we kind of discussed this a little bit offline. what are some ideas for handling weird curveballs? Like, let's take our ship instead of overland travel. That comes up all the time. Are there security cameras? I'm wearing an environmental suit. This gas doesn't affect me. So as a GM, how do you deal with those things, those type of things? And you can, I'll say these things specifically, or if you want to talk generally.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, just unless you're really running something that's so set in stone, like a adventure path or a scenario or whatever, the answer is generally, yeah, sure, cool. Right? Just kind of like going with it, right? You want to take your ship? All right. Well, where are you going to park it? If you're going to land it near wherever it is you're going, and that might not be possible, or it might be, depending on where they're going, may or may not be possible. Well, of course, the second one, oh, the security cameras, maybe, probably. If this is a high security area, sure, might be. What are you gonna do about them? You just sort of like to throw the sort of it back to the person, right? Like, this environmental, this gas doesn't affect me because I have environmental protection on. Good thinking. You thought to turn them on beforehand. Well done. End of discussion, essentially, right? But for the most part, you can like turn these questions into more adventure by basically sort of like deflecting the question, asking the next logical question. Where are you going to land the spaceship? What are you going to do if there are security cameras, et cetera, et cetera? Your environmental protections protect you from this gas, but do they protect you from this lava? And then throw lava at them, right? Whatever. The classic escalation.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I agree. The way that I would phrase that, I mean, there's always the improv technique of yes and, right?
Yeah.
Agreeing and then escalating. I think in a lot of questions like this, I tend to rely on yes, but in order to make for some decisions, right? Oh, you're going to take your ship instead of driving? Well, yes, but their only place to land it is your sensors tell you is really uneven ground. And if you're not very careful on how you land it, your whole ship will get mired in the mud or something like that. So you can take the narrow overland trip, but it'll take longer. And then I actually will lay out both options, right? You can take the narrow overland trip, but it's longer. Or you can make this difficult check and a shorter trip, but it's a difficult check, and maybe you end up getting mired in, right? And then I get people talking about that. I have one player in particular who always thinks whenever I yes, but I'm not giving a fair choice. I'm trying to trap everybody. She's very suspicious that I'm trying to trap, because they'll be like, oh, can we take our starship? I'm like, well, yes, but, as an example, maybe you have to make this check or it gets stuck in the... You just wanted to get us stuck in the mud with our ship so we can't get out after we're done. I'm on to you, Ron. We're walking.
Oh, great. You fall into the mud while you're walking. Oh, look at that. You open the door. It's in the same exact room. No.
Plus a bunch of security cameras.
The starship question and the environmental protection question come up quite a bit in scenarios in adventure paths as well. Oftentimes it gives a little blurb why they can't take their starship there. Like, oh, it's some sort of protected or sacred or whatever area. You're not allowed to fly over it. You can't do this, that sort of thing. If you don't want them to do that, you could do what Ron is talking about as well. If there's no real reason for them not to, then you can kind of go the direction Jason's talking about and just, hey, we'll just move on to the next thing. There's no reason to add this thing. Now, the environmental protection thing, though, that comes up a lot with traps. And oftentimes what I'll see now is that even if it's, they want to do some sort of gas trap, right? Well, they'll make it so it's a psychic gas trap or mystical gas trap, or there's some other thing that it bypasses environmental protection somehow. And I guess that's fair if you want to have that. But it does kind of beg that, why do we have these protections if all these other things get through them anyway? I don't know.
I think that's a spice you need to use very, very sparingly, to be perfectly honest. And I know that what it means is that everyone gets to use it once in their adventure, so it's in every adventure once. But it just comes down to, like, we, when we created the game, we painted ourselves into this corner of like, well, you have to, we want you to be able to go out into space from level 1. So you should be able a spacesuit that lets you breathe your own recirculated air or whatever. So which means poisons, inhaled poisons and certain gases just will not do anything because you've got the protections on. That's just a baseline assumption that I think, you need to build off of that really more than it is, it's gas, but now it's, it's full of tiny nanobots that disengage your environmental protections as they come in, and then you're poisoned regular style. Like, yeah, it's not as interesting, honestly, as just saying, now you're in a poison gas. Oh no, that's gonna, I mean, maybe there could have been, talking about stuff we could have fixed. Maybe there'd been a little more massage about like, well, at certain levels, you only got so much environmental protection, so you have to decide whether or not you're turning on, when you're going out into, now you're in this gas. Are you going to have enough time to get from point A to point B? That's sort of a little more interesting. But most of the time, it's just like, yeah, you can just kind of just ignore that stuff or do something slightly different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is very different than the, are there security cameras, or how do we bypass with the techniques? Because this is a situation where the rules have an answer, right?
Yeah.
It's like if somebody were asking, hey, can I just shoot 3 times instead of 2 for my turn? I mean, the rules have an answer for that. And the answer is no, unless you've got the right feature. But that doesn't mean the answer at that time is no. It just means that know that if you're changing that, you're going against what the rules say. I might try to remember if I have any players who were excited about environmental protections early on, and then be able to call back to that. And it feels weird to be excited about environmental, but even somebody kind of looking, whoa, but even somebody who's kind of looking over their equipment and being like, oh, wait a minute. Hey, at this level of armor, I'm way better against radiation. I'm kind of excited to have sort of this better protection. Well, them even saying out loud they're excited about having that kind of protection rather than having a KAC and EAC boost means that if you tell them, okay, this gas, it just doesn't affect you because of your environmental protections, they feel validated for the thing that they liked. And that's a good DMing tool regardless, right? Is make people feel like the stuff they're excited about, that they're excited to get, mattered that they got it in the game.
Yeah. Class, same with like any like class features or any sort of other thing that they buy or whatever, they're like, get to use it, essentially, right? Yeah. So even though you as a GM might know like, oh, well, this person has a really good will save, so I should never really attack them with mental spells or whatever. No, the monster or the NPC doesn't know that. They're gonna try it at least once and like, so hey, yes, I got to use my thing, which lets me roll twice or whatever, and take the better. So great, you did it and you succeeded. Like there's always like, it just kind of comes down to this sort of like the are you a adversarial GM or not? But like, you want to seem like an adversarial GM, but really you want to be a celebratory GM where you are celebrating, where you're showing off. Great, you did it. You rolled 18d6 on that because you did these 3 combos, these feats that let you do all this stuff, and you did a whole bunch of damage. And I've had fights where I've been like, I come in, boom, I shoot, critical. All right, well, oh shoot, now the thing that was kind of a lower level thing, and now it's dead, and now the fight is over. And people like it when it's done, like can be fun, fast, and you get to move on to the next thing that might be a little more exciting.
Exactly. Because how often does it matter that they like, okay, you can bypass a thing, right? Let's, have more fun on stuff. Players know when they have a good sense of when there's narrative heft to the things that are happening in the game. And when you push back maybe a little bit more about what they can do. But yeah, the number of times that an opponent will do exactly the thing the players have prepared for and have better defenses against. Man, I do that as a GM all the time because I know it makes them feel awesome, right? Yeah. I'll even kind of be on their side about it. I'll be like, he doesn't know, so I guess he's going to use his big fire attack against you. And they're like, yes, I've got all my fire protection up. So, like, that's not, I'm like, he falls right into your fire using trap.
All right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, there's a bunch more questions here. I think we'll have to save some for next time, but it's been really great. getting a chance to catch up with both of you and you, Ron, especially. Can we get you back again, especially for the 100th episode, but maybe some more in between?
Sure. I'd love to come back. That'd be awesome.
Yay.
Great. Well, with that, I hope everyone has an enjoyable Thanksgiving, and hopefully I'll see one or both of you sometime in the near future.
It won't be a sad Thursday. It'll be a happy Thursday on Thanksgiving.
Good to know. Well, I'm John.
And I'm Ron.
And I'm Jason, and this has been Digital Divination.